All right, good evening and welcome to the January Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for the town of Fortville. Andy, if you will please walk us through the roll call.
Sean Simmons here, Earl Bolender here, Nathan Stradevant
Here.
Rick Jacobs, Joe Murphy.
Great. Thank you very much. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for one nation under God, indivisible, with justice. Right. Thank you, everybody. With our new member absent tonight, I assume we will skip over number 3 and move right to number 4, which is the approval of the meeting agenda. Adam, we do have a correction on the agenda, though, correct?
Yes. Obviously, we're not going to do the oath of office tonight for the new member. That'll go next meeting. And one item I neglected to put on there was for you to select a chairman and vice chairman for 2025.
All right. Moving to number, so I guess we'll do that after the approval of the meeting agenda. So with those additions, changes, can I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda with those corrections?
I'll move to approve the meeting agenda with corrections.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries. Okay. Next, we will move to the appointment of a chairman and vice chairman for the 2025 calendar year. I would entertain a motion for, first, we'll start with chairman, a motion for the chairman for the Board of Zoning Appeals for 2025.
I move to appoint Nathan.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any conversation, discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, chairman is set. And next we'll go with vice chairman for the 2025 calendar year. Do I have a motion for a vice chair?
I'll make a motion for Earl to be vice chairman.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Wonderful, thank you very much. Old habits, muscle memory. Yeah. Just checking, never know. All right, next, we'll move to the last of the, before we move to new business, is the approval of the minutes from the November 2024 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the meeting minutes? And do we have any changes requested or questions for staff? Okay, then I would look for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 2024.
I'll move to approve the November minutes.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, carries. All right, next we will move to new business. We have one public hearing before us this evening. This case number variance 01-2025 at 225 West Garden Street, Elite Beverages. For the BZA to consider a request by Ray Cox of Elite Beverages to allow a variance for the number of parking spaces in excess of the zoning ordinance maximum. Same numbers approved by the Plan Commission as a part of the concept site plan, which was approved on November 26, 2024. With that, Adam, could you give us the presentation, please? Sure. Thank you.
Excuse me, for the record, I'm Adam Zaklikowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town of Fortville. First, I just wanted to point out that for any action that you need to take, that you decide to take tonight, it'll have to be unanimous since we have 2 members out today. Correct. So with that, as you mentioned, the location of this request is 225 West Garden. And the owner and petitioner of the property is Virginia Terrace Holdings LLC, and that's care of Ray Cox, the owner of Elite Beverages. The zoning on this property is commercial community. And the property use today is a vacant, single-family residential home. The total property size is about 0.29 acres. So the background and request on this item is that Mr. Cox purchased the property, which is south of Elite Beverages, and he'd like to demolish the home to extend his parking lot. The Plan Commission approved the concept site plan for this extended parking lot in November of last year. However, the number of spaces in total for Elite Beverages would exceed the maximum parking allowed per the Broadway Main overlay within the zoning ordinance. Should be noted that he's seeking the same number of spaces that was presented to the Plan Commission. So if we take a look at the parcel map and the aerial photo, you can see the property in question with the star on it. To the north is the Elite Beverages property. Off to the northwest is the former Dairy Queen site, and then to the east are some residential homes along Garden Street. And then lastly, to the south is the Old Bridge development. Here's an oblique aerial. This is looking south, and you can see the location of the property in relation to the parking lot that's there today. And of course, we can always refer back to these as necessary. If we take a look at the zoning map, even though the property at 225 West Garden was being used for single-family residential, it is zoned and has been zoned commercial for quite some time. And this is a street view image from August of last year from Google that shows the house at 225 West Garden. And you can see the Elite Beverages building off to the north. The following pictures were provided by the applicant. You can see the situation at times with parking. It is pretty full. Some of the vehicles have been parking on the Dairy Queen property, which is what you see right here. Should be noted that with this particular Elite Beverages building, when it was developed back in 2017 or so, the idea per our Broadway master plan, per the zoning ordinance that went into place eventually to encapsulate those standards, the building was built up close to the street, and parking is along the side of the property and along the south. So it is a little bit challenging trying to navigate the parking lot, but part of it is a function of what the town was trying to achieve by having a more urban type building towards the front of the streetscape. So I'd urge you to keep that in mind. So moving along, this is the concept site plan for 225 West Garden. You can see that obviously the majority of it would be an asphalt parking lot. Around the perimeter, they plan on putting shrubs and trees, as well as some fencing very close to the two residential properties that are flanked on each side. And there's 24 spaces here. So the development standards variance that he's seeking would be to allow, again, parking spaces in excess of the maximum number permitted. We just mentioned the code citation there. And so for some more detailed analysis on this, the current Elite Beverages parking lot has 21 spaces. The additional parking lot is planned to be 24 spaces. So after completion of the project and accounting for a connecting aisle between the two lots, the total available for Elite Beverages and MT Nails and Spa will be 42 spaces. And I break down the calculations there. So therefore, the maximum that's allowed under the code would be 33 spaces. And to be clear, he's seeking 42. And we can always refer back to these. In terms of remonstrance to the variance request, All the public hearing notice items have been completed. The required sign posting, the newspaper publication, the Greenfield Reporter, and a mailing to nearby property owners. At this moment, we're not aware of any remonstrance to this specific variance request. However, remonstrance was heard at the Plan Commission meeting regarding the parking lot expansion overall. So based on that, the decision criteria for development standards variances, which you're asked to consider per Indiana law, with my 2 cents, professional 2 cents in yellow, which you're free to adopt or agree with or disagree with. The first one is the general welfare test, that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. I'd say yes, that's been met. Those items would not be affected. Second one is adjacent property, that the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. I'd say yes, that's been met. The proposal overall was approved by the Plan Commission. Landscaping and fencing was included, again, along those side property lines. And then lastly, practical difficulty, that the strict application of the terms of this chapter will result in a practical difficulty in the use of the property. I'd say yes, that's been met. The applicant has demonstrated that the existing parking lot is full at times and additional parking is necessary. So to be clear, if you were to turn down the request, he would not be able to exceed the number of spaces for the maximum. So with that, my recommendation would be to approve the variance. So if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to address them, and the applicant is here as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that presentation. Any questions for Adam this time?
Yes. What was the remonstrance at the Planning Commission?
Sure. Good question. The neighbors to the east, the Chapels, were first they were upset that the property was commercial to begin with. Their position was that, understandably, it's been a house for as long as they've lived there. How did it get to be commercial zoning? So first we did some research on that, and from what we could gather, it was at a minimum rezoned to commercial back in 2007 when the county implemented their zoning ordinance that we eventually inherited for the most part. So the other concern.
Before we move on real quick.
Yeah.
The council just addressed this zoning, I believe, that was talked about recently, like within the last couple months. Is that correct? Did the current map that you showed tonight, is that what is currently, how it's currently zoned?
Yes.
And was there changes made? Did the council make changes in this section? I'm looking at you because
No, you may have been referring to the properties next door.
because there was some,
Yeah, on the comprehensive plan side, not the zoning side.
okay.
The idea was to allow for commercial uses to go further south into these very deep properties, but the residents were not keen on that idea. And so council said, from the comprehensive plan side of things, let's just continue to project traditional residential.
Got it.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
and then lastly, I think that was really the biggest concern, is having a parking lot or having a commercial use that close to the houses. Secondly, there were concerns over noise from vehicles that folks raised. Lighting was a bit of an issue, but generally speaking, that was the biggest thing, was just the land use of having that parking lot in close proximity to the houses.
Any other questions for Adam?
To your point about the lighting, has the lighting, that could be troublesome for the neighbors, as far as to the side of them and also potentially Old Bridge, depending on what kind of lighting is. Was there any specifics on what kind of lighting is going to be used?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm trying to remember how that was resolved. I believe lighting will be provided. I defer to the petitioner. You might have a better memory. I'm sorry, I don't recall.
That'd be
But
fine.
I do know that generally speaking, what the planning commission, both on this case and on other ones, they've wanted to hit a sweet spot, it seemed like, with providing enough light for safety and security, but obviously making sure that it's pointed downward and that it's shielded and that's not going on to adjacent properties. So, but I don't recall for this how we settled that.
Any other questions? All right, what we will do now is just a quick overview of how we'll handle this process. We'll first have the petitioner come up. You may represent the case. Then we'll have time for public response. Any government officials that would like to have response, and then we'll have time for petitioner rebuttal, should there be any. So with that, if anybody's here that is representing the petitioner would like to come up to the microphone, please spell your name and how you represent the case. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. My name is Ray Cox, Raycox. I own Elite Beverages. I also own Virginia Terrace Holdings, which is our real estate holding company. So I do represent the petitioner. I am, in fact, the petitioner. First of all, to answer your question real quick while I remembered about the lights. I believe we were approved at the last meeting to go, lights were permitted if they were shielded and they were below, I think, 20 feet, maybe, something like that. We agreed not to provide lighting. It was our thought that we probably wanted some lighting, but there may be enough ambient lighting from the building and so forth, the lighting that's on the building, that we may not need any additional lighting at all. So we kind of agreed at that point, just, so the petitioners would have some satisfaction there, that we would not have lighting. But I think it's permitted at the last hearing. Okay. Just to let you know, give you a quick, brief overview of the project and who we are and how we operate. We've owned Elite Beverages here in Fortville for about 15 years. When we bought it, it was the old wagon wheel liquor store. You guys that were around then may remember it. It was 3 older houses there. So 5 years ago, we scraped all that off and we redeveloped it, and we worked with Adam at that point in time to really get this project off the ground. It was quite a chore to get it going, but we did, and we were very happy with it. But one of the things we agreed to do, and which we're still in agreement today doing, is we agreed to put the building up front and parking in the rear. And that is what kind of the overall plan called for. And that's, we know that's what the town wants to see, and that's certainly what we want to provide. We think that this extension, which is really, we look at, it's just an extension of our existing parking. And it will appear that way as well. The fencing will be the same. The landscaping will be the same. Hopefully it'll look like it was built, meant to be that way. But we think that kind of holds true to the whole concept of what downtown, shopping should be. Don't forget that MT Nails is in that same building with us. They do a heck of a business. They have about 6 or 8 employees as well. and they're busy all the time. So our busy hours, you know, you think maybe operating a liquor store, your busy hours might be from, you know, 4, 3 o'clock till 7 or 8 o'clock. They're busy. A lot of those pictures I think that we took, I think we're taken at about noon. And it's a lot of traffic for MT nails, okay? And so it's busy. And that's how we all like it, right? But we redeveloped it, like I said, about 5 years ago, and now we think this is kind of, we've known we need parking for a long, long time. It's been evident, and we think this is a really good solution to our problem finally. I would note that we've operated there for 15 years without complaint. The first complaint we ever heard was 2 months ago at the first hearing at the Plan Commission. And it was from one remonstrator. So and of course, we're always open to the neighbors and hearing complaints, and we want to be good neighbors. So, but that was the first time we ever heard anything. So we're kind of happy that we've been able to operate there, you know, and be good neighbors. The Plan Commission did vote 5-0 to approve this after hearing all the evidence. The need for this variance, as Adam put it, has been satisfied because it really is a very peculiar property. If you can, Adam, go back to that parking right there. There you go. So we kind of solved a little bit of our parking issue. I mean, you need to meet minimum parking too, right? So to get the minimum parking in there, we had to have this parallel parking up there. Now, as you can see, not everybody can parallel park. So, and so in deference to our customers that aren't really good at parallel parking, you know, now with this being complete, we'll actually have parking spaces in back that you can pull in and pull out of and kind of normally navigate a parking lot. Because even if you park back here, you have to navigate all that and then come back out. Okay. So it is a peculiar parking lot now that we hope to make really a much more conventional picture. As Adam alluded to, we've got, you know, since Dairy Queen has been, you know, out of business and turned over and is vacant now, we've got a lot of customers that just pull right in there when it's full and when there's, you know, when it's a problem. So we'd love to do away with that and provide proper parking. I think also too, the maximum, I think it's proper planning. I don't mean to tell you your job, but it's probably good forward thinking to exceed the maximum amount here. You know, Fortville is growing rapidly. We all know that. We're adding rooftops to this town every year. I think I read this online somewhere. In 2022, the population increased 8.9% in that year alone. Now, I don't know all the rest of the statistics, but we've got more housing on the way, not to mention the housing that is right up next to us in Fishers, which is technically Fishers, but a lot of those folks shop here as well. So we are the only liquor store in town. We're the only liquor store for quite a circumference. MT Nails, of course, don't forget them. And I have a letter that I'll submit from Kai Nguyen, who is the owner of MT Nails. They do a great business, but you know, they need the parking as well. If you've ever been or your wives have ever been to get their nails done, and men go too, you know what a pain it is to maneuver in there and utilize their services. There were some remonstrances. I hope there aren't any today. I don't know. We'll find out. But there are a few people, at least, that are in favor of this project, and we took the liberty of setting out a petition. We have over 340 signatures. I'll now present to you of people that are in favor of granting this petition. Those should all be residents of Fortville. The names and addresses are on there. I think as Adam mentioned, we have done some things in our plan to address the remonstrators' concerns. We're erecting, fencing on both sides, and we're erecting fencing here on this side and here on this side. I don't think it's required on this side because this is zone commercial, but the use is residential, so we're erecting fencing there. We put in extra landscape and we landscape the Garden Street side as well. Like I said before, we've done away with any kind of lighting, because the remonstrators are concerned about that. We've also agreed to place some signs on the inside of the fence, and I think it's no loitering or something. I don't think we've ever had a problem with that, but we're going to do that anyway. So with all that said, I don't want to keep us all night. I respectfully request that you guys grant our petition. I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cox. Any questions for the petitioner at this time?
Yes, so this is paved, is that correct? This
It will be paved. It's currently.
is currently not paved,
Correct.
obviously, yes, but it will be paved. The in project's going to be a paved lot.
Yes, absolutely. Be asphalt, yes.
Okay. And what will the between the two, the existing property and the residential property, is it just going to be an open lot that just extends into the new lot? Like if you go back,
Can you, yeah.
and the lighting is a concern. I know that probably doesn't, we're talking about parking spaces, but that seems like it would be a very dark area of 20 some parking spots.
Show me. When
Yeah, so up there on the top, those are the current cars that are the back of the liquor store essentially. Okay,
There'll be a lane coming through.
Okay.
Yeah. So those spaces at the top, I think, actually go away, or most of it, so that you can get through here. And I agree with the lighting, and our original proposal had that, but the remonstrators were very concerned about that. And so, and I don't know, there may be some ambient lighting back there, seriously, because but I'm with you. I'd rather have it safe, so we'll take a look at it. We can do it. We're actually allowed to do either one, I think, per the plan commission. And I'm going to have, it's not on this plan, but you can bet we'll do it. I'm going to put two 2-inch conduits through here before we asphalt. Okay, so that we want to run electric,
You
we want to run water, whatever we want to run, we have the capability of doing it real easily. So, I can see your point.
There was substantial discussion at Plan Commission on that aspect, and it was a concession, from my recollection, it's been November, that privacy was the driving concern, and so it was a back and forth, and kind of determined that to
Yeah, and there might.
allow
be-
those folks the residential peace and quiet. And I think there was discussion as well that there's some lighting on Garden that may have been out, but we were gonna have that repaired. So there's some public street lighting on Garden that should provide some lighting into the entrance and lot.
But the safety of our employees and our customers, obviously
Yeah.
is very high on our mind. So, but I think, again, and we don't want to irritate any neighbors, but I think there's a way to do it. If we have to do it, if we should do it, we will. And I think there's a way to do it where it won't, shine in their eyes, basically.
Any other questions for Mr. Cox?
So,
I have one additional question and I just can't recall. You brought up the parallel parking and then I've been in there many times and noticed the struggles. And when you've got delivery trucks as well, are those spots planning to stay with the future layout?
Well, we had planned.
Okay,
But again, depending on, we'd like the leeway, but maybe they won't, but we'd like to have that leeway if you
Sure.
need them to
Sure.
have them, but I was thinking that too.
okay. Was just curious. I couldn't recall where we landed. I didn't see it on there, so, okay, okay.
Something else just popped in my mind. So are you gonna lose some parking spots to create that lane?
That's a net figure, isn't it, Adam, that you used?
The 42.
I mean, is that,
So
Yeah, 42.
they're losing
Net.
3. So yeah, there would have been 45 total. And we're ending at 42, so 3 lost. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next we come to the public response period of the meeting. Anybody who would like to come up and speak for or against the project may do so. Please come to the microphone. Or if you're on Zoom, please speak up. I don't know if we've got anybody on Zoom this evening. But please come up, say and spell your name, provide your address, and let us know what your thoughts are on the project.
Good evening. My name's Tim Flick, F-L-I-C-K. I live in Old Bridge, 219 Swan Court. So my backyard is very close to the where the entrance and exit would be.
Okay.
So you ready for the reasoning then? So you said it was vacant and it wasn't until it was purchased. It was it's a house with family in it. So this parking lot's going to be in between 2 houses. It seemed to me that the Dairy Queen parking lot would be a better solution than that, but maybe it's too late for that. I'm not sure. Safety wise, Garden Street is a residential street and there's a lot of traffic on it now and they go faster than the speed limit pretty often. So cars will fly down there. So I think there's some safety issues there. And whenever you pull in or out, you have to be very careful. So adding another entrance or exit onto Garden Street, I think is a safety concern. The other thing that could be a problem is right now, people don't like to, Garden Street meets Broadway. And so people will cut through the parking lot where it used to be a car lot. It's empty now. So they'll cut through there and then try. So I think that's a safety concern that people would do that through the liquor store parking lot as well. And again, pulling in and out onto Garden Street. With my backyard bordering that, I was concerned about the lights. I'm all for safety, but I hate to have more lights shining in my windows in the evening. Also, the headlights of people coming in and out of that would flash into my windows. So that's another concern that I have. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'd rather not have the lights flashing in and out, and I'm worried about the safety of additional people entering and exiting onto Garden Street with the heavy traffic.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any others that would like to speak for or against this project this evening? In the audience or on Zoom? Looks like we just have Alex, or is there anyone else on? Okay. All right. Government officials, we have time in the agenda for any comment that you might have. She's shaking her head no. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, petitioner rebuttal. That was quick. If you'd like to come back up, answer any of the questions that were brought by Mr. Flick, that would be appreciated.
I understand Mr. Frick's comments there. I guess the one thing I would say is that we did agree to install additional landscape on that Garden Street ingress and egress there, which will, help, I think, with headlight problems there. So that was it.
Okay. Any additional questions for the petitioner? Okay. That is noted, that was brought up at the Plan Commission, that I think the entire stretch of garden is now to be landscaped to reduce that when folks are just parking. Now, when they enter and exit, you will still get that light pollution. But I think that was a part of the Plan Commission discussion. Sure. Jump up to the microphone just so we can catch you on the recording.
The landscaping wouldn't stop the lights as they're exiting.
Correct. At the entrance, the ingress, egress, right?
Yeah.
You would still get that light pollution.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. Appreciate everyone's contributions this evening. Any other questions or clarifications for Adam, the petitioner, anything before we make a motion this evening? All right. With that, I would entertain or request a motion from the Board of Zoning Appeals to approve with conditions or deny the variance request for the additional parking spaces at 225 West Garden Street.
Real quick, before we do that. So the other remonstrances, you provided fencing, on essentially the east and west sides. For those essentially was that for headlights, the same situation that Mr. Flick's talking about? Or was it just for privacy or separate the parking lot? Sorry to.
That's
Get here. I think it's kind of a combination of both. So privacy and sound and I guess lights as well would be affected by it, obviously.
Does it make sense to have some sort of fencing the same way you did on the east and west on the south side as well,
I mean,
on Garden
I
Street?
suppose we could. That my hesitation with that would be safety from the standpoint of in the parking lot, because then you're kind of cut off, from, we don't have it up there, but it would just kind of cut you off from the rest of the road.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we could. I'm not sure in planning, that's really a good thing to do, but
We just have a person here,
yeah,
and I just thought, why
Yeah.
not talk about options?
I would not, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of difference to me materially.
Mhm.
But when I think about it, aesthetically, I mean, it's gonna look like a fort. you know, um, I think I'd rather have nice landscape out there rather than stockade type fencing up against the street. But,
All
you
right,
know,
thank you.
yep, thank you.
And I think it's worth noting for the board that while I don't disagree and I empathize with Mr. Flick, that conversation, I think that purview is really with the landscape plan and the plan commission. That what we're considering here tonight is the number of parking spaces. So we're not changing whether there's an ingress or egress there. It's the size of the parking lot in question, not whether there will be a parking lot. So just something to just kind of rattle around. I want to make sure we keep the focus of what this board is responsible for here tonight in the forefront for us as we make motion. So
And then also, I just wanted to interject that, and Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but if the vote is not unanimous tonight, one way or the other, then it's the same as a denial. Right, Alex?
It's actually no action. So
Oh,
there'd be no final action of the board, one way or the
Okay.
other.
So if that were to happen, that would be the same effect as a continuance then?
Yeah, that's what I would recommend that we would, if we can't get to a final action of the board tonight, then my recommendation, we effectively just table this continue it until the next meeting when hopefully we'd have 4 or 5, even better, members so that we could get final action.
okay, wonderful. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Adam, for that clarification. Okay, any other discussion before we move to a motion? All right, I would look for a motion to approve with conditions, deny, or potentially continue, should we not have a motion to file this evening for variance 01/2025 for 225 West Garden Street to exceed the maximum number of parking spaces.
I'll move to approve the requested variance to allow 42 spaces instead of 33.
All right, do I have a second?
Second?
All right, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries 3-0. Congratulations, Mr. Cox. Thank you. Thank you for showing up tonight. I do want to note, I feel like it's worthwhile with these conversations that involve neighbors and others. We do take into consideration. I don't want it to feel like we're brushing you off. Do understand what it is that you're talking about. I would encourage, and this is just kind of a general comment, to make sure, and I don't know if that's something that we can do a better job of advertising, but I want to make sure that folks show up to the appropriate meetings. The BZA tends to be much more laser focused with the variances and requests. The Plan Commission carries the landscape plans, the site plans. That's where those decisions are really made. And so I want to make sure that your input's heard at that time when those discussions are being had. So, but do appreciate you showing up, taking the time, completely empathize and understand, the entrance exit and hopefully that light pollution is fairly limited. But just want to take that moment to note that. With that, I think we need to paperwork. I've got to fill mine out real quick. Since that's the last thing of the evening, I can finish that after. That brings us to the ending of this evening's business. I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right. Meeting adjourned at 7:15. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everybody. Thanks, Alex.
Have a good night.